Apply direct modeling tools. In this video, we'll understand the use case for direct modeling tools, and we'll apply direct modeling tools to remove or move features. In Fusion 360, let's get started with the dataset engine case RH no timeline. Oftentimes, when you get a design that's imported from another CAD system, you get something that doesn't have history, which means that if we need to change the location or make edits to features, we don't have that luxury of just going into the timeline and making an edit. This is where direct modeling tools come in handy, and Fusion 360 has a great set of modeling tools encapsulated in three main tools. So we're going to take a look at the Press Pull tool, we're going to take a look at Move Copy, and we're also going to take a look at Delete. So first, let's take a look at Press Pull. Now, Press Pull is an interesting tool because it actually invokes three different commands depending on what you're doing. If I were to select this rounded corner, for example, notice that it changes to Offset Face. If I begin pulling this out, it's able to not only change the radius of the fillet, but also adjust the intersection where that counterbore actually overlaps. So this can be an extremely handy tool. However, in this case, we don't want to adjust the fillet. We want to use it to move this face forward because we've decided that we don't need that counterbore anymore. So if we begin pulling this up, you can see that I can get to a position where I no longer have that counterbore. However, it's a good idea for us to change the offset type or to modify the distance value depending on the use case. In this situation, I want to go exactly up to this face, so if I select it, it's going to use the exact distance to get me that value. You can see that Fusion automatically patches the face, and it's left us with a smooth inside face, which means that later on when we're programming toolpaths, this can be extremely helpful. What if we wanted to move the location of some of the holes? For example, these holes here. Well, if we go to the Move Copy tool and we change the Move Object Type to Faces, we can select faces that we want to move. When we do this, however, we should always be mindful of the pivot point that's being used. You'll notice in this case, the pivot point is actually slightly rotated. So I'm going to change Set Pivot. I'm going to select something else. For example, one of these edges, so I know that I'm moving correctly in the Y or Z direction. I'm going to OK the pivot. I'm going to pick my direction, and then let's say that I want to move these 0.03125. It's able to move those holes up, but notice that it's not able to take care of the chamfers. So if we hold down Control or the Command key if you're on a Mac, we can simply add those to our selection, and it's going to move the hole and the chamfers with it. The last tool that I want to mention is the Delete tool. Now, Delete doesn't seem like a direct modeling tool, but it can be extremely powerful. For example, if I select the inside face here, go to Modify and select Delete or hit Delete on the keyboard, it's able to completely remove it from the model. The same thing if we select a chamfer or a fillet and hit Delete on the keyboard. We can go back to a square corner because it automatically is able to patch everything. If I wanted to, let's say, get rid of this counterbore, if I hit Delete, nothing happens unless I select the faces that are associated with it. And then we can go back down to the 0.26 or the passing hole for a quarter. So this can let you move backwards on a design even when you don't have a timeline. And the benefit of doing this in Fusion 360 is everything that we've changed or adjusted is now captured in the timeline. So we can roll back to the original state of the model, or we can go forward and accept some of those changes. Now, if you're happy with all of the changes, you can also turn off capturing design history and re-enable it and sort of have all of those be part of the solid body. But in this case, we're not actually going to save any of these changes because we do want to carry on and use this model more. But just note that direct modeling tools can be a powerful way for you to make changes to a model that doesn't necessarily have the history or the timeline associated with it. If you want to save your own design, make sure you do a file and save as to save it as a new file name because we will continue to use this data set at different points. Once you're done with that, we can go ahead and move on to the next step.